MaxMind is a provider of IP intelligence, proxy detection, and fraud detection tools. We're based outside of Boston, and we've provided IP intelligence solutions since 2002 through our GeoIP brand. Since 2004, MaxMind has provided online fraud detection through the MinFraud Transaction Risk API. That's what I'll be talking about today. Over the next 10 minutes, I'll explain what the MinFraud service is, who it is for, how it works, and why you should try it. First, what is the MinFraud service? The MinFraud service is a real-time transaction risk API that provides risk scoring and risk data. MinFraud users collect data during a transaction with their customers and pass that data to the MinFraud service via API. The MinFraud service analyzes the transaction, powered by machine learning and a data co-op of shared risk intelligence, the MinFraud network, which I'll talk about more in a little bit. After analyzing the transaction, the MinFraud service returns a risk score and risk data to the user. In 2020, the MinFraud service assessed data from a broad range of our users' input to score over 3 billion transactions, and we identified 5 million high-risk transactions. So who can benefit from the MinFraud service? Thousands of businesses currently rely on the MinFraud service. These range from sole proprietors and independent web stores to Fortune 100 companies. It's effective on its own for decreasing fraud when you use it to automate your response to transactions or for manual review. Its ease of integration makes it ideal for layering in with other fraud detection and prevention services as part of a homegrown fraud detection system. The MinFraud service is used across a number of industries and verticals. E-commerce and payments are the most common verticals that use the MinFraud service to make decisions about whether to accept or reject transactions, but many other industries use it as well. Financial technology companies use the MinFraud service to assess risk on a broad range of transactions. Survey companies also use the MinFraud service. Incentives in the form of points and cash make some surveys big targets for fraud. Survey companies use the MinFraud service to stop customers from taking the same survey multiple times to collect rewards. They also screen to make sure that participants are taking the right survey for their location. It's also used to detect fraud during account creation and by those paying for referral traffic or offering incentives for app installs. So how does the MinFraud service work? The MinFraud service works by returning a risk score and risk data based on inputs sent to it by an API. The most actionable piece of data that the MinFraud service returns for any transaction is the risk score. The risk score is the percentage chance that a transaction is fraudulent, with 100 being a 100% chance that it is a fraudulent transaction, and 0 being no chance of fraud. All transactions fall somewhere in between. This reflects a broad range of different data points, including geolocation and proxy detection. This is very much in our wheelhouse as we've been providing IP intelligence services for 2 decades. Our machine learning models take into account various inconsistencies and mismatches between our data and the data entered by the end user. We check to see whether the transaction is coming from the location that the customer claims by analyzing billing, shipping, and device information, as well as a number of other factors related to the security and reliability of the IP address. We also perform velocity checks. We monitor digital identifiers for sudden bursts of activity that could be indicative of risk. For example, a single IP address trying to conduct many transactions using a variety of different email addresses in a short period of time. We also analyze device and email characteristics, credit card and issuing bank information, and other transaction data. But the real power behind the MinFraud service is the MinFraud network. It's what's feeding the risk score. We have over 7,000 global merchants from sole proprietors to Fortune 100 companies using the MinFraud service. Our modeling takes into account all the transactions we've seen over the last year, which is over 3 billion transactions. These transactions help us to build reputation data for a number of digital identifiers. The MinFraud network allows us to flag suspicious IP addresses, shipping addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, and devices on the basis of their activity across our network. If we see a fraudulent transaction on one of the 7,000 merchants, the risk score will be raised when that fraudster goes to make a purchase at any one of the others. Machine learning and data analysis on those 3 billion transactions is also based on behavior. You're not only benefiting from known fraud, but there are combinations of behavior that we've learned are higher risk, which affects risk scores across the network. But you don't have to blindly trust the risk score. The MinFraud service provides you with options to obtain over 70 data outputs to identify traits of risk for your own risk modeling and analysis. Some examples of the outputs we provide can be seen here, which can all be used in combination with the risk score to identify fraud. For example, one user of the MinFraud service compared the IP geolocation of their transactions with device local time to identify fraud when their team saw US geolocated IPs, but device local time set to a time zone halfway across the world. Another used the user type and anonymous IP output to spot fraud when their team saw the email address of a customer with a good transaction history bouncing from a residential IP to a VPN to a hosting IP in a short period of time. Here's an example transaction with outputs that we provide. You can see that this transaction is coming from someone using an anonymizing proxy, which may be caused to manually review this transaction more carefully. The transaction also has a number of geolocation mismatches. The IP address is located in Canada, but the billing address is located in another country. In addition, the shipping address is thousands of kilometers from the billing address, which may mean that a fraudster is using stolen credit card information. This transaction is more ambiguous. There are similar geolocation mismatches. The IP geolocation, billing address, and shipping address are all fairly distant from one another. However, in this case, the IP risk score is low. The IP address appears to be associated with a bank. The credit card is also a business card, so it's possible that this transaction is coming from someone who is traveling and making a purchase for business purposes. Now, why should you try the MinFraud service? The cost of the MinFraud service scales with your business, and you can tailor it to fit your needs. All MinFraud services accept the same inputs, which are analyzed for risk scoring, but we have different offerings based on what outputs you need for your decisioning. Our basic offering is MinFraud Score. This is when you want the bottom line to decide if you want to accept or reject a transaction. This is most useful when you are doing a high volume of transactions that don't require manual review for some reason. Perhaps they are low dollar value items that you are doing a very high volume of sales on. Another common use case for Score is for merchants who already have their own fraud monitoring systems in place. They use Score as an add-on to be able to use the risk score in their modeling. When you want additional data points to do manual review or additional risk modeling, we offer MinFraud Insights. MinFraud Insights offers you all of our GeoIP information for each transaction, including geolocation down to the postal code level, user type data, email checks, financial institution checks, a flag if the user is coming from an anonymizing proxy, and device intelligence. Our MinFraud Factors offering takes it one step further. You get all the data points you receive with MinFraud Insights, but you also get information regarding what went into the risk score decisioning, with subscores based on key indicators of fraud. With subscores, you can calibrate your decision-making based on the risk indicators that are particular to your business. The MinFraud service is easy to try. There is no integration fee and no commitment either of money or term of service. Our APIs are openly available and it's easy to test. We can also do a free live trial or historical batch test. To sum up, what is the MinFraud service? The MinFraud service is a transaction risk API that provides real-time risk scoring powered by a co-op of shared risk intelligence, the MinFraud network, which is made up of over 7,000 merchants taking into account over 3 billion transactions. Who is the MinFraud service for? The MinFraud service is used for a wide range of use cases for thousands of companies from different verticals and of different sizes, from independent stores to Fortune 100 companies. How does the MinFraud service work? It works by returning a risk score and transaction details based on the transaction data that is sent by API. The risk score is the most actionable piece of data that we provide and enables you to make a quick decision about whether to accept, reject, or manually review a transaction. Dozens of other data points are available for your own risk modeling and analysis. Why should you try the MinFraud service? The MinFraud service is an economical fraud solution that is easy to try and easy to integrate and works independently or as part of a larger fraud detection and prevention strategy. If you have any questions, please email us at sales@maxmind.com and we'd be happy to help.